good morning. Rouser Radio in Lewis, East Sussex. Doing Ejectomanio again. I couldn't understand why I couldn't hear anything there, and I accidentally clicked the earphone icon. Oh, dearie me. Ready for a sweltering day. It's going to be 39 degrees centigrade. And since I only understand the old money, that to me is over 100 degrees. Woo-hoo-hoo! Good morning and welcome to Friday. I got it right this time. Last week I told everybody on Thursday that it was Friday. I actually got some people, I didn't even know there were anybody listening to this program, but I got some people who actually hauled themselves out thinking they were missing all sorts of things because Friday had appeared and they'd missed Thursday. There we are, though, it really is Friday today. It's Friday the 7th of August, I'm happy to say, and it's 6:32 in Lewis, 6:32 throughout the rest of the United Kingdom, and a little different wherever you happen to be. The odd person crops up in Moscow. I think that's about 4 hours difference. So they've had breakfast and are looking forward to lunch. And believe me, a Russian lunch can be a thing of wonder. It can be really, really nice. So there we are. There we are indeed. And here we are. So what's on the menu today? Well, I think that it's wonderful, apart from being the hottest day. And I think that on a hot day, the last thing in your mind would be bonking. But the headline in The Sun is that there is a bonking ban for freshers. And apparently, because of the coronavirus, the hijinks that young freshmen, in other words, the first-year university people, get up to at university on their first day of the first week of the first time that they've been at university, is quite horrendous, and they're all running around having it off with one another. Well, not this year, unless you want to pay for it. 800 quid fine if you're found having one-time sex, a little bonking on the side, as it were, with a stranger, because that is going to cost you. So, considering that some people have found out that a pint can cost £3,000 if they break the rules, now a quick bonk at university is going to actually cost you £800. So the Chancellor gets richer as the restrictions get worse. Can you imagine going to university? Well, what would you be, 19, 20? Yeah, 19 or 20. And the first thing that you've been told about is how wild the sex is, and suddenly you can't have it. Well, you can at a price. If you're wealthy, I guess you don't care. But still, that's what you face, students, when you get there today. Actually, it's only Bristol at university that's brought that in at the moment. But it just hijinks. And I'm trying to remember my first day at university, because I'd travelled pretty damn close to 6,000 miles anyway, if not 8. I went from Sutton Coldfield in the Midlands, just outside Birmingham, and all the way to Vancouver to go to the University of British Columbia. And I travelled in 1958, which was a signal year. More people crossed the Atlantic that year for the last time by boat than did by plane. It was the beginning of the end for the great liners, and I was lucky. I went on, I think it was the Empress of France, not the France, but the Empress of France, which was a Canadian Pacific liner, a bit smaller, than its namesakes, but the food was incredible, the entertainment remarkable, and the prices at the bar for a young student quite beyond the pale. Not beyond the pale, within the pale. But so I went off from Liverpool, sailed across the mighty ocean, the mighty Atlantic, sailed down the St. Lawrence, which is in itself an experience. You see the small communities up on the banks, upon the particularly the cliffs that verge on the river at some points. You're looking into the United States on one side and Canada on the other. And little churches, particularly because you're looking into Quebec, a Roman Catholic province, and very religious, perhaps far more than the rest of Canada, although that's very difficult to say about Canada because they still have a very much Protestant ethic in almost the rest of Canada after Quebec. We got off at about midnight in Quebec City and walked into the city to take a look. And that was interesting because it was, in those days anyway, little France. Little hotels with the concierge sitting there, a lady, arms akimbo, making sure that you weren't going to be a university student to get fined 800 quid for living upstairs. And then we sailed the next day further on to Montreal, where I got onto a train. And I travelled on the train for, I think it was 5 nights and 6 days across Canada, mighty Canada, from Montreal in Quebec, right across Ontario, across the prairies, Manitoba, Alberta, Saskatchewan, into the Rockies at Banff, where a group of people that I'd met, we got off the train and looked at the Rockies for the first time, and looked at the azure blue of the rivers and the lakes. I'd never seen anything so pure in all my life. Although I must say that by this time I was beginning to feel the effects of travel. I'd been on the go for almost 2 weeks. Anyway, into the rear car of the Canadian, which has a bubble. You can go upstairs and you can sit and you can watch as you go through the Rockies, and you wind down through the spiral tunnels, where if you sit at the very back of the train, you can see the front of the train coming out of the tunnels about 500 or 800 feet or so below you. It edges out of the tunnel just before you go into the tunnel, and so you can see the nose of the train from the tail of the train. And then on to the banks of the mighty Fraser River, down through the Fraser Canyon to the plains, going on to Vancouver, and then into the lovely city itself. So that was, I didn't do any bonking at all. Believe me, I was too tired and too weary, and not in the right circumstances, and I'm not sure that we did that in those days. We tended to be a little bit more moral and a bit more pure. Oh dearie, dearie me. What did we miss? Not much, I suspect. Not much. They were very happy days. Anyway, days at university, some of the time. But there we go. Sutton Coldfield to Vancouver. It was an exciting time. A wonderful time. A time of awe and wonder. Oh, let's ease into the day. Dinner for two, since we're talking about romance. Bonking? Romance? No, we're not. There we go. Dinner for two. And if you've got any romance in your soul at all, do you remember that first time you took a lady out to dinner? All on your own. No more rugby mates in a group. No more family. No more looking after little brother. But this gorgeous creature that you'd been lusting after for quite some time. And you were sitting across the table, having dared at 18 to buy a bottle of wine about which you knew nothing. And you were nervous. And she was nervous. And you wondered, what the hell am I doing here? Romantic it may be. The object of my affection is across the table, and I don't know what to say or do. Oh, this is sheer hell. No, it wasn't. You were in love, and she was gorgeous. It didn't matter what she was like, she was gorgeous. And eventually, of course, you found your level. And you were able to have a nice meal and a glass of wine and a little chat, and hopefully something of a, quote, cuddle afterwards on the way home. Oh, first loves, if you go back. And the thing is, of course, is there were lots of dinners because there were always lots of first loves. And then as you mellowed and you started to really seriously look for a mate, then the thing changed and dinner took on a different type of hue. Anyway, that was rather pleasant, wasn't it? Dinner for two. The hottest day of the year, I'm Keith Hayes, and I'm going to sweat it out a little later. It's 6:44 in Lewes in East Sussex. This is Rouser Radio. Do join us if you possibly can. We're on all sorts of platforms. Even Spotify, you can tap in, iHeart Radio, all sorts of Amazon, I believe, and Google, and you name it. You should be able to tap into some of these sites, and if you put in Rouser Radio, up we'll pop, talking a whole bunch of drivel, a whole